Hello from Kingfisher, Oklahoma. Today we're going to look at 2 Chronicles 25 and 26. Amaziah is the new king. He serves God, but then his grade says he's not perfect. He starts out following God, and then later in life he takes a nosedive. He follows initially the law of vengeance against his father's killers and murders or kills them because they're murderers, and that was acceptable, the law of blood, because they did just choose to murder his father. And he hires men of Israel to be a part of this great army that he's building. But that does not please God. And this may seem strange because it's like, why shouldn't you be able to build up a big army to protect your people? Well, the whole point is for them to rely on God's power, not their own power. And that's the part that he misses there. It's like, sure, you can build a bigger army, but, you're supposed to be trusting God, that he'll protect you. So God sends a prophet, and he ends up dismissing the Israelites. But after a battle campaign, the Israelites come back and attack Judah. So it doesn't work out very well there. That's a mess. And then also messy, this is the part where Amaziah turns, is he brings false gods back from his campaign, and he worships them, bows down to them, burns incense to them, and this makes God angry. And with every king that does this, it's a big mistake. And Judah goes to fight Israel, thinking they're all big and bad, but because Amaziah has served false gods, God allows Israel to seriously thump Judah. So, anyway, and then Amaziah eventually dies through conspiracy to kill. So more bloodshed, more mess. Starts out well and then just consistently goes downhill. That's Amaziah. After he dies, his son Uzziah takes the throne. And he serves God all the days of Zechariah, it says. He defeats the Philistines. He defeats the Arabians. He defeats the Mehunim. The Ammonites are bringing tribute. He's a well-known king. He reigns for 52 years. Again, things seem to be going well. But after he strengthens himself and strengthens the kingdom, he decides he's really a big deal. And that non-humility is really what comes back to bite him. And so he decides, I'm just going to go into the house of God and I'm going to burn incense there. He's got the little censer. And this is bringing back some of the memories about Moses and Aaron were burning incense in their censers. And I think it was 250 also brought theirs. God was going to show him who's boss. Well, all those other people died. Not good. So Uzziah should know better than this. It's not his job. It's the Levite's job, but here he is doing it anyway. Also kind of reminds us of Saul, who was like, and it's been 7 days I've been waiting for Samuel on the dot. Not going to wait anymore. So he offers the sacrifice, which he's not supposed to do. Well, here comes Uzziah, and he offers incense, which he's not supposed to do. And that does not go well. As soon as he does that, leprosy. He suddenly has an outbreak of leprosy. He's cut off because of his leprosy, and rightly so. You're not allowed to go into the temple if you have leprosy. He can't come back to the palace. He has leprosy. And he dies still having leprosy. So, another king. Started off great. Big mistake. All right, let's jump into 2 Chronicles chapter 25. Amaziah was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Jehoaddan of Jerusalem. And he did what was right in the sight of the Lord, but not with a perfect heart. Now it came to pass, when the kingdom was established to him, that he slew his servants that had killed the king his father. This is the part where he does well. But he slew not their children, but did as is written in the law of the book of Moses, where the Lord commanded, saying, the father shall not die for the children, neither shall the children die for the fathers. Every man shall die for his own sin. Moreover, Amaziah gathered Judah together, and made them captains over thousands, captains over hundreds, according to the houses of their fathers throughout all Judah and Benjamin. And he numbered them from 20 years old and above, and found them 300,000 choice men. That's a good-sized army. Able to go to war, handle a spear and shield. He hired also 100,000 mighty men of valor out of Israel for 100 talents of silver. But there came a man of God to him, saying, O king, let not the army of Israel go with thee. Israel's not on good terms with God. Well, this one is kind of going up and down, sometimes good, sometimes bad. Israel's pretty bad steadily. So, reaching out to them, not a good move. There came a man of God saying, O king, let not the army of Israel go with thee, for the Lord is not with Israel, to wit, with all the children of Ephraim. But if thou wilt go, do it. Be strong for battle. But God will make thee fall before the enemy, for God hath power to help and cast down. It's almost like he's saying, oh, do it. See what happens. And Amaziah said to the man of God, what shall we do for the 100 talents which I have given to the army? Hey, I already paid these guys. Do I get my money back? The man of God answered, the Lord is able to give much more than this. Hey, don't worry about that little bit. Your obedience is more important than the money you're going to lose. Then Amaziah separated them, to wit, the army that was come to him out of Ephraim, to go home again, wherefore their anger was greatly kindled against Judah, and they returned home in great anger. Amaziah strengthened himself, and led forth his people, and went to the valley of Salt, and smote the children of Seir 10,000. And the other 10,000 left alive did the children of Judah carry away as captive, and brought them unto the top of the rock, and cast them down for all the top of the rock, that they and all were broken into pieces. But the soldiers of the army which Amaziah sent back, that should not go with him to battle, fell upon the cities of Judah. So Judah's out, their army's out and about doing the things. Israel sneaks in while they're away. From Samaria even to Beth-horon, and smote 3,000 of them, and took much spoil. So they lose 1/10 of their guys in this little fight. Now it came to pass after that Amaziah was come from the slaughter of the Edomites. Here's the problem. He brought the gods of the children of Seir, and bowed himself down before them, and burned incense unto them. Wherefore the anger of the Lord was kindled against Amaziah. And he sent unto him a prophet, which said unto him, why hast thou sought after the gods of the people, which could not deliver their own people out of their hand? You just beat them. Why would you want to serve a God that's weak? It came to pass, as he talked with him, the king said to him, art thou made for the king's counsel? Forbear. Why shouldest thou be smitten? Then the prophet forbare. King said, I don't want to hear it. Leave. And so the prophet leaves. And said, I know that God hath determined to destroy thee, because thou hast done this, and thou hast not hearkened to my counsel. You're unrepentant. It's not going to work out well for you. Then Amaziah, king of Judah, took the advice, and sent to Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, come, let us see one another in the face. I want to fight you. And Joash, king of Israel, sent to Amaziah, king of Judah, saying, the thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, give thy daughter to my son as a wife. And there passed a wild beast that was in Lebanon, and trode down the thistle. Thou sayest, lo, thou hast smitten the Edomites, and thy heart is lifted up with thee, that thou shouldst boast. Abide now at home. Why shouldst thou meddle to thine heart, and thou shouldst befall, even thou, Judah, with thee. This is kind of like royal smack talk, I think. They're kind of talking back and forth who's going to win this battle. Amaziah should not be going, but Amaziah would not hear it, for it came of God that he might deliver him into the hand of their enemies, because they sought after the gods of Edom. So Joash, the king of Israel, went up, and they saw one another in the face, both he and Amaziah, king of Judah, at Beth-Shemesh, which belonged to Judah. Judah was put to the worse before Israel, and they fled every man to his tent. Joash, the king of Israel, took Amaziah, king of Judah, and the son of Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, at Beth-Shemesh, and brought him to Jerusalem, and brake down the wall of Jerusalem, from the gate of Ephraim to the corner gate, 400 cubits. So they caused a lot of destruction. And he took all the gold and silver, and all the silver vessels which were in the house of God with Obed-Edom, and all the treasures of the king's house, and the hostages also returned to Samaria. And Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, lived after the death of Joash, son of Jehoahaz, king, for 15 years. Now the rest of the acts of Amaziah, first and last, behold, they are written in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel. Now after the time that Amaziah did turn away from following God, they made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem. He fled to Lachish. But they sent to Lachish after him and slew him there. They brought him upon horses and buried him with his fathers in the city of Judah. So, gone, another one, messy death, killed. Chapter 26. Then all the people of Judah took Uzziah, who was 16 years old, and made him king in the room of his father Amaziah. He built Eloth and restored it in Judah. After that the king slept with his fathers. 16 years old was Uzziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was also Jecoliah of Jerusalem, and he did that was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all his father Amaziah did. And he sought God in the days of Zechariah, who had understanding in the visions of God, and as long as he sought the Lord, God made him prosper. So that's only a little time. Somewhere in here, it doesn't say when Zechariah is going to die, and then... And he went forth and warred against the Philistines, brake down the wall of Gath, and the wall of Jebna, and the wall of Ashdod, and built cities in Ashdod, and among the Philistines. And God helped him against the Philistines, and against the Arabians that dwelt in Gurabal, and against the Mehunim. And the Ammonites gave gifts to Uzziah, and his name spread abroad, even unto the entering of Egypt. For his strength, he strengthened himself exceedingly. Moreover, Uzziah built towers in Jerusalem, and at the corner gate, and at the valley gate, and at the turning of the wall, and fortified them. He also built towers in the desert, and digged many wells, for he had much cattle, both in the low country and in the plains. Husbandmen also, and vine dressers in the mountains and in Carmel, for he loved husbandry, which is like taking care of animals. Moreover, Uzziah had the host of fighting men, and went out to war by bands, according to the number of their account, by the hand of Jael, the scribe of Messiah, the ruler. Massiah, not Messiah. Massiah. Under the hand of Hananiah, one of the king's captains. The whole number of the chief of the fathers of the mighty men of valor were 2,600. And under their hand was an army 300,000, 7,500, that made war with mighty power to help out the king against the enemy. And Uzziah prepared for them throughout all the host shields and spears and helmets and habergeons and bows and slings to cast stones. And they made in Jerusalem engines, invented by cunning men, to be the towers upon the bulwarks to shoot arrows and great stones withal. So that's like catapults and trebuchets. When it says engines, they're like the big machines for warfare. We say machines. It didn't have probably much metal, just, catapults and trebuchets. And it's not a car engine either, obviously. And his name was spread abroad, for he was marvelously helped till he was strong. But when he was strong, his heart was lifted up to his destruction. Now, strength, and the Bible also says this, it doesn't say strength, but fame and wealth are tests of your character. So if you don't think you can handle, that sort of thing, and maybe most people think that they do, you need to act accordingly. But he was strong. His heart lifted up to his destruction, for he transgressed against the Lord God. He went into the temple of the Lord to burn incense on the altar of incense, not a priest. And Azariah the priest went in after him, and with him 80 priests of the Lord that were valiant men. They withstood Uzziah the king, and said unto him, It appertaineth not to thee, Uzziah, to burn incense to the Lord, but to the priests of the sons of Aaron that are consecrated to burn incense. Go out of the sanctuary, for thou hast trespassed, neither shall it be for thine honor from the Lord. How hard is it to stand up to a king? It's hard to stand up to a leader sometimes. Good for these guys for doing it. Then Uzziah was wroth, and he had a censer in his hand to burn incense. And while he was wroth, which means angry, with his priest, the leprosy broke out on his forehead, and before the priest in the house of the Lord, and from the incense altar. And Azariah the chief priest and all the priests looked upon him, and behold, he was leprous in his forehead, and they thrust him out from the presence. Yea, he himself hasted to go out, because the Lord had smitten him. How intense is that? You're fine 1 second, and then suddenly you have leprosy. Goodness gracious. And Uzziah the king was a leper until the days of his death, and dwelt in a several house belonging to a leper. For he was cut off from the house of the Lord, and Jotham his son was over the king's house, judging the people of the land. Now the rest of the acts of Uzziah, first and last, did Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amoz, write. We're going to read his stuff later. And they buried him with his belongings, in the field of his father, of the burial which belonged to the kings. And they said, He's a leper. And Jotham his son raised in his stead. So, there you go. We heard about a couple of prophets, Zechariah and Isaiah here. And I look forward to getting to those books eventually. But moral of the story here, people, stay with God. Okay? If you're becoming famous, you're becoming in the public eye, you need to take a step back. Humble yourself. See if you can move that away from you so that you don't end like these guys who think they're so great they can do anything, even when it's in opposition to what God says. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.